Take podcast with Brucey, Chuff and Lush.
How are we, gentlemen?
Good evening.
It's another Tuesday night. We're live in the studio. We've got a very special guest joining us this week. Mr. Mark Cometti's in the studio tonight.
Pretty excited. The Outback Silverback.
Welcome.
Well, thanks for having me, boys. That
He's
was
got the radio
like,
voice, eh?
yeah. Well, you know,
I reckon it runs in the family.
yeah, I got the genes for it. You got to put it together, though. You know, I'm not sure if the Trinity College education, backs up with the linguistics of it all, but we will see. But no, this is nice, boys. I like the setup.
Thanks, mate.
It's good, And Chop, you sounded like a sort of late night FM guy coming in there over the music, waiting for it to stop. I felt sensual,
That's it. That's what we try to bring the good
Yeah.
Call
vibes.
1-800-LOVE.
and relax. Yeah, that was
Chop
good.
did have a go at a podcast a few years back
Right.
When?
when you were doing that DJ stuff.
Oh, that was more a mix. I put up a mix every week and stuff like that, so I wasn't really speaking over it too much, mate.
That's it. But Fish, I call you Fish.
Right.
That's
Can't let that out of the bag, bro.
it. Yeah, sorry.
Come
But
on.
Mark,
Beast on air, mate. you know.
Beast.
Come
what are
on.
you doing at the moment? Like, talk
What
to
am I
us
doing
about
at the right now? I'm sitting
You're sitting in
Can
the-
I give away our location, or is that top
Yeah,
secret?
this way location.
I'm in Leederville. No, but I'm just prodding around, mate. Doing a bit of Triple M radio for the footy.
Yep.
Stats man on that. So that's a pretty easy gig. You could do that with blindfolded, mate, so to speak.
I'm wondering I didn't get the call up to assist you in the stats.
Well, I thought about you having you on call at all times.
I'm always
just
available,
for
mate.
stuff. If I
I'm
wanted
actually
to challenge champion data on air, which is probably not a good thing for me, but if I did, if I was to choose one guy who would be my go-to, other computer, it would be you.
I'm going to be honest. Champion
always
data,
said that to you.
Champion data get it wrong sometimes.
Hey, easy. Easy.
Russo never gets it wrong, though.
So do you have someone pulling up stuff for you, or are you actually doing that during the games?
That's champion data. I just gave them the plug, Chop.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, mate, you're sitting there
I
like-
mean, you could go looking for stuff on the computer once you get sort of you hang around the software.
Yeah.
But it's basically like obviously two teams up, and you've got all your categories, and then you can change them if you want to get really technical and go through different stuff.
So in a game day situation, your dad cuts to you and says, "Yep, get this stat." Does he give you the heads up beforehand, like write a little note? I need that.
I mean, they can if they need to. Normally, that's on the producer, so the producer will probably get in my ear if they want something specific.
Yeah.
But generally, you just chime in where you think it fits, and you sort of follow in the game, and obviously put something in that works.
And so your dad's obviously an icon. Let's just put it out there.
To say the least.
Not in my house.
For us, he's
The voice.
synonymous
of
with Australian football.
Yeah.
Like it's
sport. Just
everything.
My childhood.
Yeah.
The voice.
When did you realise he was a media icon?
When did I realise
When
it?
did you grasp? Because obviously, growing up as a kid, you don't really.
Well, it's always, I've never known it any other way, mate, to be honest. So it's just sort of, it is what it is. It's just sort of dad to me. But I mean, you notice the attention, but as I said, I haven't had anything to compare it to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been what it is. I mean, going into Optus for the first time when I was doing the footy there and seeing the media centre named after him, that was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And just sort of more in this stage where he's sort of getting Hall of Fame inductions and stuff like that. So that's something where I think back and go, but when you're in the moment, you just sort of...
Does he
run
try
along.
to sort of give you a few tips, or is it more?
My
Just let
dad's
you do
not
your
good
own-
on giving me advice, mate. He doesn't pass much down. I mean, if he thinks I need something, he will, but we've had sort of different paths anyway, so we're not really technically trying to do the same thing. So he stays out of my business, so to speak, but he gives good advice when needed.
Yeah.
What was his views on you going over to the States to start a wrestling career?
I don't think he believed I was going to do it initially. So it was just probably more the shock of it when I finally decided to do it.
Yeah.
And just sort of,
What was the tipping point? What? Just you at that size and thought, fuck it, I'm going to go wrestle?
Well, no, I was here and I was looking after some of the boys when they came down on a tour. Some of the WWE guys, Rikishi and a few of the other guys, Gangrel. I'm not sure if you boys are old enough to remember them.
Oh, yeah.
1,000% bringing back childhood memories.
Yeah, so of the Attitude Era. So it was, I was looking after a few of them because one of my mates was running a wrestling promotion down here and I'd never wrestled or anything like that. obviously you guys have known me for a fair amount of time, so you know I've been a pretty decent size most of my adult life. So they looked at me and sort of like we were talking, and obviously I loved wrestling growing up. That's probably why I first picked up a set of weights, because I wanted to look like a wrestler, not because I wanted to be a bodybuilder or anything.
Yeah.
And then they sort of looked at me and said, "Man, is this something you consider doing?" And I said, I don't know. I've never really thought about it. I'm in Perth, Australia. It seems a long way away. How would I even do that? And they said, look, because if you're interested, you've got the look, you're at the age, we can give you a school to go to. Yeah. Like, and Vince is always signing, Vince McMahon is always signing guys that look like you.
Vince, first name basis.
Yeah, well, that's how they said it. It wasn't me, it was them.
My dad's Vince.
Why didn't you give me more money then?
Shit, mate, you and me both, don't worry.
Just as successful.
So then, anyway, so that's how it went down. And then the next year I went over, when we were in the States on a holiday. We were on the West Coast, and I flew over to the East Coast to meet with the guy who was going to be my trainer and see the school and stuff. And he's actually the Rock's uncle, Alpha Anawahi.
Oh, yeah.
So
Wow.
he's a WWE Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He's in the new Rock
He's
show.
in the Young Rock,
You know the Wild Samoans in, so they're getting a lot of show now.
Sweet.
But obviously he's a WWE Hall of Famer in his own right. But met up with him, and he was like, yeah, come train with me. So, and then the year after that, I moved over, and after about 14 months, then I got a WWE contract offer.
So all up, how long were you over there?
Yeah.
Better part of 6 years, man.
Yeah.
6 years over.
So pretty early on, you got the WWE contract.
Yeah.
So what happens there? You're under there, and then you
So
win
you
the rest off.
go to developmental then.
Right. So that's
So
like AXW,
NXT.
Well, it's now NXT. Back then, it was a couple of other.
FCW was the one. When I got signed to FCW, was in Tampa, so they did it all out of there, and it wasn't such a brand as it is now.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the network and things like that, it's changed, so they made it a sort of a third brand.
Pretty much, yeah.
Right. So, but back then it was sort of still FC Dub, and guys were coming out of it still. So,
What's the level of sort of training that you do at that school? Is it sort of 2-3 day sessions?
No, man, it's sort of like when I signed at FC Dub, it was different. It was sort of like 3 hours a day, basically.
Yeah.
And then you went and did your strength and conditioning and stuff on top of that in your own time. But by the time I was trying to, I had a few injuries and stuff. I got cut, and then I was getting back in with them. By the time I was getting back in with them, they'd moved to Orlando and set up the Performance Center.
Yeah.
And that was a purpose-built facility, like $10 million facility. It was amazing. But the schedule then was like you were there like 9 to 5.
Yeah, right.
So it's full on.
Yeah.
So
That's where they do all promo, practicing, everything, the full 9 yards.
I see someone like you, and obviously I see your size. I'm like, how can you not make it, sort of thing? Like, what sets everyone apart? Is it?
it's just timing's a huge thing, man. It's just timing. So my timing was good at the start and then bad at the end. Because I was a way better product at the end, but for whatever reason they didn't have the spots. And on my last tryout before I came back, I went to get re-signed with them, and I thought I was 100% going to get re-signed with them because I was way better than when they signed me the first time. And just more mature as a wrestler and knew the business better. But they just said, look, we've got like 2 spots, and they had like a couple of ex-NFL guys that they're really hot on just because they know they're good athletes. So it just depends on the time you get in. Sometimes they can have more spots open. You get in. Other times you think you deserve it and you don't get in. So it's just all timing. With entertainment, man, it's just timing.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking. Because obviously it's more the entertainment side. So it's not as if
it's not.
There's no better wrestler because we know the outcome is sort of predicted, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's definitely better wrestlers and ones that aren't. But I mean, it's not like a measuring stick like athletics. You know, so definitely.
How important is the athletic ability in the WWE framework?
You got to be an athlete, man, because I mean they got their pick of everyone, right?
Yeah.
What was your athletic background before wrestling, growing up?
Basketball.
Yeah.
Huge basketball.
So I was big into basketball. So that was my main thing. So I was gonna probably that was my first thing I wanted to do. So when I finished year 12, I was going to go to the US and do year 12 over there and get into college ball.
Yep. Cool.
That was the first plan, but then.
What
Started lifting weights and that, and then just lost interest. As it does. So your life changes when you get your license.
So so the weight stuff, the training, because you got into it, you did a lot of bodybuilding competition. You do a lot.
Well, not a lot. I competed when I was like 20, a few times.
So like you just fell into that by accident, or was it
in the comps.
circle of
I mean, it's sort of natural progression. If you get into your training, then you want to sort of give it a crack.
Yeah.
So then, but like I said, I first started the weightlifting because I wanted to look like a wrestler, not because I wanted to be a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Then as you get into it, you get sort of sucked into the bodybuilding world as well.
Yeah.
And so, I competed when I was 20, did the nationals when I was 20, got runner-up.
Fuck, that's young.
Runner-up in Australia. That's second. to a guy from Sydney that I should have beat, but he had the crowd. He had you see.
So he was he had the home crowd.
He was in Sydney.
So you hadn't honed in on that crowd stuff yet, had you?
Yeah, well, I won the show here, but obviously over there it was a bit tougher.
Yeah. So with your wrestling, is there anyone on the current roster that you actually got to wrestle, or were alongside in the developmental stuff?
Yeah, there's still a lot of boys in developmental that I was there with, and a lot of guys that I was even there before developmental, just on the indie circuit with.
Yeah.
So, and I did a lot of shows with the guys that are on the main card now.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch. So, I mean, that adds to it too, because you're looking at them going, that could be me.
Any,
I was better than him.
Any indication maybe going back and giving it a crack, or not?
Nah, I mean, I think the time has passed now, but I'm 38, so never say never, but that's not the goal anymore.
Yeah.
So we'll just see what happens.
While you're over there in America, the bright lights, everything like that, you're in the entertainment industry. Did you look at sort of getting out of that into some acting or Hollywood or anything like that?
I did over there because I had a few offers from Universal Studios to come do some stunt work and stuff, which I should have taken up, and I just didn't because I was just honed in on the wrestling, and the visa situation was a bit tricky. So I should have done that, but now I'm sort of branching out into that type of thing. So I'm definitely into sort of the acting side of things now.
So acting stuff now, what are you sort of looking at?
Well, I'm just sort of learning the craft, man. Yeah. So I mean, the wrestling was my drama school, right? Yeah. So you learn a lot about acting in wrestling, and then obviously just getting into it seriously now, and sort of getting in the other side of things, like the emotional aspect of it and all those types of stuff. So I mean, I wasn't even training to be an actor, but I got 3 auditions for Young Rock.
Yeah.
And got sort of shortlisted for a few characters on that, which I actually thought I was going to get, but it didn't work out for whatever reason. So that was cool, and that was sort of signing me okay, so get into it, And just
how did you do those auditions? Was it just through Zoom, Skype?
Yeah, they were just self-tapes, man.
Yeah, and send them in? Jesus.
Yeah.
So with your sort of wrestling and training sort of background, is that just mean that you sort of stereotyped into sort of certain roles specifically, or are you trying to show your broadened acting ability?
No, I mean, I definitely want to get into all types of roles, man. But if you're in your wheelhouse, that's a foot in the door. So I obviously look at a certain way, I'm going to get typecast, which is fine. Yeah. So you're not going to turn that down, and that's opportunities like Young Rock just sort of present themselves because of what I look like in my background. So I mean, you're never going to say, "Oh no, that's not." That's not, a performance enough for me. That's not testing me enough.
Yeah,
that doesn't go to my emotional depths. So I mean, there's plenty of stuff for that. If you can prove yourself by getting in the door, then you can show them that you can do more. But you got to get your foot in the door the first time.
So you got an agent and agency over here and all that stuff?
Getting in touch with sort of people now, man. So I haven't really been pushing hard on that front. Just sort of, like I said, training away and just working on it till it's at the point where I think it's good.
Yeah.
And then, I've got a few sort of agents interested in stuff now, so we'll just see what happens in the next year or so, I think, because it's a good time to be in Australia and sort of getting into that industry. There's a bit going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
While you're over there, when the wrestling was dying down, whatever, did you consider having a crack at NFL at all?
Damon's been wanting to fucking ask
because I'm just if that's not at the sides, that's all I'm doing, man. It's just I love it.
Well, the thing is, I grew up watching American football, right? If I had growing up there, man, that would have been my sport.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
You know what I mean?
Half your size. I think that's for me.
Just short spurts and you don't have to be too much cardio. That's great. That's big man life right there, right?
You're obviously a defensive end. Do you think a defensive lineman?
Yeah, I mean that would ideally that's where you place yourself. You might not be athletic enough for that, but
for those that don't know, Mark is very quick. He has good movement, so I feel like that
For the
what-
viewers, could you describe your home first? Because we said he's big. What do you weigh right now?
About 140 at the moment.
140.
What's the heaviest? What's the heaviest you ever went? Like,
Yeah.
160.
Jesus.
is that while wrestling?
That was probably before I went back to the States the second time.
Is that like maintaining a 160, or is that just sort of like
That was just bulking up, man. Like that was a
That's
dirty
massive.
bulk too. Like my stomach blew out, like my waist blew out rather. Not my stomach, my waist blew out, and like it wasn't the best look for me. But I was just trying to hang on to size so I could cut it back when I got over there.
What's a diet like when you're that?
That was just lots of food, but I mean, obviously I didn't want to stay there.
Yeah,
you start working it back, so start chiseling it off to sort of like 140s, somewhere in there. So I mean, my best, like when I was wrestling over there, was probably 140 to 148ish, around there.
Is
So
that
was
your
probably,
sort of where you think that's your ideal?
No, I mean now it's probably in the 130s to 140.
Yeah.
So it's probably come down a bit, but probably in better shape now. So it's just what you're after. I mean, it's not feasible to stay that big and bulky if you're not, making a living off it. So especially with the acting and stuff like that, you got to start sort of bringing it down and getting a bit leaner and just approaching it from that direction.
And what's your training like sort of now? Is it still the 5-6 times a week kind of thing? Or?
Yeah, it's still the same training, man, just no wrestling. So it's just the less risk of injury as far as outside of the ring. I mean, and inside of the ring, rather. So, yeah, it's just that. So, no, to answer your question, Damo, I never tried out for the NFL. But it was interesting. At the last tryout, we actually had a guy who was the wide receivers coach for the Seattle Seahawks. And he was there as a talent assessor.
Right.
And so he pulled me aside when we're going through the tryout with the WWE. He goes, man, what's your background? And I was like, what I did, blah, 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 where I'm from. He's like, man, you move really good for a big dude. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'm actually impressed with that, man. That's a wide receivers coach from the Seattle Seahawks telling me I move well. I'm like, okay, I must be all right,
Did you consider it for a slight second? Did you just consider it?
I'm just saying, that was good enough for me. I'd made it then. Yeah. He said I could go. So I was like, this guy says like top class athletes all the time. I'm like, I must be all right.
Well, how old were you at the time when he's...
Oh, that would have been, I was 32, I think.
It's pretty hard
A couple
to
of
get.
years.
Yeah.
Put him at guard.
Yeah.
So, Damon over here is going through, your 7th knee operation? He's six. We just found out he has to have another one. What was your worst injury while you were doing all the wrestling and the weightlifting?
I was pretty lucky, man. It was just a pec tear was probably my worst. Like I did groins, I did hammies, but pec was the only one that had to be surgically attached again.
When you get, like, besides the pec injury, if you get a little hamstring tear or groin tear, do you stop your training completely?
I didn't even
rest?
stop when I got the pec tear, man. I had to tear it off completely tore it off in Melbourne. When I came back, I did a big show over there with a bunch of guys from the US, and it was already partially torn, and I'd been wrestling with it in the States for probably a couple months and just sort of staying away from it on chest training and just trying to work around it. And then I clotheslined a dude, he was a big dude too, a big heavy dude, and I clotheslined him, and I just felt it go. It just went boom. So
And that's the injury that, like, the bruise, like, swallows the
that was the
arm
one when I
kind
first,
of thing.
so it was all bruised up, but I knew it had gone completely because it wasn't good before that.
And you need an op.
Yeah. So that was, I mean, you can choose not to operate on it, but your pec will never work. You have a big gap, like someone's hit you with an axe,
Shit. So what was the recovery time on that?
I mean, they say you're supposed to be in a sling for like, I think it was supposed to be like 6 weeks or something.
Yeah.
But I was like getting out of it after 2. I was like in the gym training on one arm after like 2. I was like, I probably should be doing this. And I was trying out the dodgy arm. Yeah. So it was a major pec tear and then a minor bicep tear as well. But yeah, so that was probably the worst. That happened in ring, but the initial injury was actually on doing flat bench in the gym. So that was compound.
How much were you attempting?
Yeah, I was about to ask.
Well,
I gotta know, man. I gotta know.
Well, the interesting story
It's
with
very
that.
rare that
bench
someone's
pressing a
this
car.
much bigger than me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not massive, obviously, but I'm not a small
Now,
guy.
you look like a normal bloke sitting next to
That's
you
what I
right
mean.
now.
Like,
Looking at me going, Damon, you're skinny at the
thank you.
moment.
Walk around with
So I'm not that big right
No,
now.
it's all black as well. So I'm slimming.
Slimming. Yeah, well, that's it. It's all slimming. I'm wearing grey, you're wearing black. Mate. Thanks for not showing me up. I appreciate that. No, so actually at the time, I was training with a dude who used to do World's Strongest Man, Brian Turner was his name, a Scottish guy. He holds like the bench press record for Scotland and the UK. He did like 715 pounds with no bench suit.
It's about 350 or something.
It's about 300 odd, somewhere around there. So it's ridiculous.
You can't even fit the barbells.
So
on
this dude was like 50 odd, right? So I used to watch him on ESPN before I went to America, like doing the world's strongest man. So he's top 10 competitor in the world. Still like strong as an ox, you know what I mean? He was just silly strong. So I was training with him because he was like, let's get your bench up. Because he was looking at me, he goes, oh, you should be benching this much, which was ridiculous. So I was like, dude, sure, but teach me, whatever. All right, so
there's an art to bench press.
Absolutely.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It's all technique, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
Is there chop? Please enlighten us.
Hey, mate.
Let's let Mark handle this one, all right, buddy?
I love bodybuilding. I was a big Arnold fan back in the day. I loved to watch that shit. Never got into it myself. But
Obviously.
Please, Mark.
But definitely there is, because I mean, the way a bodybuilder bench presses and the way like someone who's bench pressing to get poundage like a power lifter, completely different.
Okay.
So if you're building muscle, you're not worried about how much weight you're moving.
Yeah.
I mean, plenty of guys do, and your weight will come up naturally, but you're not meant to.
Yeah.
So bodybuilding for bench press for starters to say like your elbows are very high, so in line with your shoulders almost, right? You're bringing it down like that. Where powerlifting, you really lock it in, get lots of triceps and arch your body.
It's a repetition thing with powerlifting.
Yeah, but it's just like you're trying to move weight. Yeah. You don't care about your pec growing. You're trying to move weight. Yeah. You'll get big probably as well, but if you can move lots of weight, but you're trying to move weight at all, like that's the priority, not getting your pec to look full. You know what I mean? So it's all about function rather than style. So this guy was both because he's a big unit and he was strong, right? Because if you're going to get that strong, you're going to be big anyway, right?
yeah.
Anyway, so this is a very long story now.
It's all right.
We got time.
So,
Stay here all night, man.
so anyway, so that I was bench pressing with him. So he was all big on high rep stuff, which you wouldn't think because I was like, all right, cool, high rep stuff. So when I tore it, I was doing sets of 25 with 140 kg. So 24 reps. So I'd done 2 sets of 25 and I was trying to do my 3rd set. And obviously my pecs were like,
Just popping.
fuck you.
Yeah.
All right, like we've had enough, man. So it's so on the way down on the first rep on that last set, it just went oof. So that was how I knew. But anyway, that's all right. These things happen.
140 set to 25.
That's nuts. That's next.
So when you're at the gym, are you a solo trainer? Do you like to train by yourself, or do you?
100%. I'm not into training buddies.
Music or no music?
Yeah, music. But I'll do my own thing, man.
Yeah.
You know this about me.
No, well, the listeners don't.
Apart from your brother, I'm a bit of a lone wolf, you know. For those listening, Adam's brother is my best friend in the world, you know. Marco.
And also a larger than average human.
But also it looks small compared to Marco.
But then I look small next to Marco, but then Marco looks small.
He's trimmed down a lot though compared to what he was back in the day.
I remember back in the day when I was
Marco's
working.
gone corporate.
When I was working security at the Red Sea
Corporate Marco.
one night, and I was standing on the dance floor working on the booth, and you and Marco walked in.
Yeah.
And I remember like just the size you used to walking together and thinking, if they did something, what the fuck could I possibly do? If I didn't know them, but I was like, if you wanted to tear the place up, what the fuck could anyone do?
That was a good thing about being a big kid when you're younger, right? You get let in everywhere because Dorman wanted you as a friend, not as a. You know what I mean?
I remember your brother just going up and grabbing the rope and just nodding to the guy. Here you go, mate. And just letting people in. The guy was just, no worries. It didn't say anything.
I remember he did that for us at Red Sea.
Yeah.
So we were underage,
Yeah.
and he obviously knew the door girl, but Marco drove us there. We'll come back from
I
Matty
remember.
Kerr's party.
Yeah, when the fire broke out.
Yeah, with the fire. Anyway,
He dropped us off and just
Just
from the car. Yeah, let him in. Maria.
that was
20 years ago.
That was nightclub Marco. That was a different Marco.
Oh, it's a long time ago.
So you went to Trinity College. We all went to Trinity College.
Right.
Wanted to ask you, what was some of the crazy shit you did while you were at Trinity College?
Crazy shit. I mean, I've got to do a few fights and stuff, but nothing crazy, mate.
Yeah.
I wasn't one of those guys. I was respectful to the school.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
It wasn't my favourite place in the world, but I knew, I respected the place. I'm a respectable individual. So, no, there wasn't too much pranking and stuff amongst our group.
Even outside of school, did you ever feel like with the surname, obviously, like that bit of pressure to behave yourself. That if you were to get in trouble, you know, your old man's name, was that always sort of hanging over your head when you're going out and stuff like that?
Yeah, I suppose that's sort of there in the back of your mind, man. You can't really go too far off the rails, you know. And if you do, you got to be very clever about it.
Because you can't. It's not as if you can really hide, you know. Like if you
but I mean, that's the thing. So I mean, you're always conscious of that because you don't want any, you know. And I mean, that goes for probably everyone at this table to a degree. You know, you know, to bring a bad attention on your folks. But yeah, obviously, there's that extra pressure if they're in the sort of limelight and have a reputation to uphold themselves. So don't want to hurt the cash cow of the family.
Yeah, exactly. Who was your favourite teacher at Trinity?
Probably Mr. Rousset. Jean-Claude.
Jean-Claude.
Jean-Pierre. Was it Jean-Pierre?
Jean-Marc.
Jean-Marc.
See?
Jean-Marc.
Jean-Claude.
The
Jean-Pierre.
non-Italian.
The French. The
Mauritian.
Mauritian. Oh, okay. The French Mauritian.
Same shit.
Italian teacher. Yeah. No, he was good.
So with your dad, like with the strong footy background, did you play much footy growing like juniors? Did you just not have an interest in playing? Because you follow it as a sport. Like you're into it, obviously. It's not your passion like basketball, NFL, and wrestling, but you still obviously watched a fair bit of it growing up. Was it just you didn't enjoy it, or?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I had a stellar career for the Cometti Bombers. From
I played for the Bombers.
Hey, there you go.
150 games for the
There
Bombers.
you go. I don't know how many games I played, but they're all splendid. I played as a youngster, and then I don't know. It was sort of like you get to run too far to get the ball, right? Once it goes away.
My problem as well.
Yeah, no, I wasn't feeling that. I was like, okay, especially like I used to play full forward when I was for Cabinia.
Yeah,
and we weren't much chop.
I see you weren't getting the ball.
So I'd just sit there and then the guy would try to talk to me. You'd be talking to the full back, and I hated that too. Your brother hated that word.
Your brother fucking hated it. He wouldn't even shake hands with the bloke before the game.
So
you touch the ball, I'll kill you. He said that to a guy at TAs.
So anyway, so that was it. So and then I made a short comeback in year 10 for Trinity, and that was it.
Because I was going to say, I remember when I used to go watch my brother play first 11. I remember sitting on the sidelines of eating a Big Mac one day, just chilling out. I was like, you don't do winter sports, do you?
No, I didn't, because what happened, I played rugby for a while in high school, and then sort of stopped playing that because the basketball season for districts and SBL and stuff was always in winter.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to be playing
you don't want to risk
injury prone
Z-grade, contact sport at school to mess up my basketball. So that was that in the end. So I ended up sort of getting past. So
did any of the coaches try to get you to come down? Like you weren't as massive as you are now, but you were still a big lad.
I was a decent sized kid. Yeah. So I mean, no, they used to try to get me for rowing. I mean, rowing was always the one they used to try to get me
to get everybody for fucking rowing.
Yeah, but if you're like a decent size, they're always like, come do rowing. And it's just like,
see you at 5 a.m, mate.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It sounded absolutely terrible. Yeah. I mean, the only
Run
thing
the
was
bridges. And then,
right, the spaghetti on toast was the only thing that was appealing to
it.
That's
the only reason why I did it.
Oh, so you did it.
I did it.
There you
No,
go.
you did it as well. I was the only one who didn't do it.
Oh, really? Yeah. So you did it too?
Yeah, I did it for like a year, and like I did the summer, did the ergo training, never actually didn't get into the boat. Then as soon as I got into the boat to the sculls, I was like, nah, fuck this shit.
It's too much.
No, because like you'd get every day, you'd have blisters on your hands. It was just pain in the ass.
Someone, I don't know if it's a thing you're supposed to, but someone said you just piss on your hands and it gets rid of the blisters. I remember we had the rowing camp.
I think someone at school.
I know. The more I tell the story, I'm like, fuck, someone really got me.
We call that taking the piss.
How many times did you piss on your hand?
The whole rowing camp. I remember almost wanting to ask people, don't piss on my hands, please. That was just horrible. Because we
other people pissed on your hand.
No, but you contemplated it because you ran out of your own piss. My hands were just burning, man.
Why?
We had the rowing camp for 5 days in the school holidays.
Yeah.
So we slept at the school in the gym floor and shit.
I'm so glad I never did.
We rode to Guildford and shit like that. Rained Jacob's Ladder.
Fuck that.
Oh, no.
It was brutal. The rowing stuff was brutal. That was too much, especially the early mornings were the thing.
No.
You know? And that was summer too, so that was basketball at school.
Exactly.
You know, that was the one school sport that I looked forward to.
First 5?
I was vice captain 2 years in a row somehow.
Who was captain above
Go
you?
figure.
Yeah, no, so in year 11.
Go figure.
You think year 12.
Who was captain in year 12?
Yeah. Who got you in year 12?
Name.
Leon Magistro, I think.
Oh, so head boy.
Head boy, and he got the vote for captain too, because you know what happened? There was a change of coach. So another friend of ours, Trimmers, came back to coach, and Leon was the first one, I think, in the first five, without going into it too much. So he remembered him from before and made him captain.
Oh, so Trimmer made him captain.
Yeah, because the coach the year before was an outside coach. He was from he was from districts, and so he just, even though I was a year 11, he made me vice.
Did you just win it at all?
We should have won. We should have gone close the year that was our year, but I got hurt. I'm not saying I was the whole team, but
You pretty much.
me and Sampy were the whole team.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Actually, Sampy.
yeah,
Sam's
Sam.
class.
I've heard he can jump.
Yeah, no, he's good. So he was there when I was in year 12. So
He was year 10, wasn't he?
Year 11. Year 11, I think.
Oh, year 11. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So he's a year younger, and so Samps was there warming up when I came in. I was like, oh, this kid looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Obviously pretty athletic.
Yeah.
So no, that was it. And then we started the season, and I did my ankle like the first game or something. And I was out for like a week or something, and we lost to Christchurch, who we'd flogged in the fourth term. So that was it, man. Then we lost a few games. I came back injured to play against Aquinas, who were a good team. They had Quinton Lynch and Daniel Kerr playing for them at the time. You know? So
Started.
yeah. So then, and I
It was
wasn't.
basketball down.
I wasn't 100%. You know. So so I like to think of that season as the one that got away.
Lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've a few of those.
I was the 2-time MVP for the first 5 days, year 11 and 12.
Wow, there you go.
Could you dunk?
Yeah.
Ooh, you said that so quick and confidently as well. I believe you.
Did you play after leaving school?
Yeah, I still played for Perry Lakes after that.
Yeah.
So that was my main thing anyway. So districts and SBL was my main thing.
And how close did you know, you mentioned earlier about going collegiate, potentially.
Yeah. Would have been Divi 2 or something.
Yeah.
But
You weren't close? Like
well,
you
I mean, we
did you have a
just,
scholarship or anything like that?
No, I just lost interest, man. So the plan was obviously potentially to go over there and do some high school.
Yeah.
And then sort of go from there, because we had some connects over there and stuff like that. But at that stage when I was thinking of doing all that, like I was, training with SBL men's when I was probably about 15 and doing all the stuff. So I was really serious about it.
Yeah.
It just fizzled out, man. So it just is what it is.
Fuck, that college life would have been sweet, hey?
Yeah, it depends on where you were, I suppose.
Yeah.
Man, it's all,
So you were a point guard?
no, I wouldn't have been a point guard, man. I was like a 2 guard. 2 guard was like probably my best spot.
Yeah.
2 guards more forward.
Yeah.
But like even in year 12, like, because I was still one of the bigger guys, like I had to play like a centre or a power forward. I hated that.
Yeah.
Because year 11, I was balling harder because it was just like I had freedom because it was the older kids, and so I was playing as a wing, Yeah. So then I could do everything I needed to do. But, it is what it is. What is it, about 20, 25 years ago now? So we're not hanging on to this at all, are we? Not at all, boys. Not at all.
Oh, shit. So we got some fan questions. So every week, in case you haven't listened to the show, mate, we get people to write in weird shit. Anything they want to ask us, the boys answer pretty much. So bear with us, because some of these are pretty weird, but that's what we love about the AGT fans. They fire off the belt here. So
Pretty weird. What are we talking here, chump?
yeah, well,
we
we won't name who they're from. I want to see if you can pick some of these.
See if we can pick some of it. You think I
this
know
one-
everyone that's got a question.
This one's got one. Okay,
Right.
Here we go. Who was the real Halo champ of 2006 World Cup Series? Who was the real Halo champ?
Can I guess who that is?
No, he's going to guess.
Okay.
That's the guy we know as Papa Smurf, I reckon. Dennis Nicholas.
Dennis Nicholas. Is that Den?
No, I think
No.
it's your brother,
It's Buff.
Adrian.
Yeah. That
Oh,
sounded
Buff.
like a Buff.
Oh, yeah, because that's when Buff used to be good
He
at
was
Halo.
he was your little like you'd send him out in the Halo to
Jam boy.
Yeah, the Jam Boy.
Yeah.
Answer the question.
So,
Who was the real champ? You were the dominant.
who was? Yeah.
I don't even know, because I think Buff wasn't Buff good when we first started. Like
No,
Halo
Buff
1.
was good.
Halo 1, he was good. And then he dropped off.
But you were like of our crew.
I was
you were the
consistently,
best.
yeah.
You were the best.
It's like basketball. I was consistently the best. I'm doing a lot of self-promoting here, boys. That's what
But
We love it, we love
I remember one night, like, we got these guys, friends of a friend,
Right.
set up 2 TVs, back to back. So because we did one team, I wasn't on the team, but I was a supervisor. And
supervisor. He did a make the cut.
But the older
He did a
brothers
make the cut, boys.
couldn't look at the other team screen. We thought we were good. We played these guys. They wiped the floor. Like, it just
This was just another level of, there's normal dudes and then there's gamers, right? And these guys were gamers and probably, without sounding too derogatory, probably a little bit nerdy too. This was their life, man. So they put in some hours and they
But that was at a period where we were playing Halo every single night.
Yeah.
So I'd come from uni, go to Marco, the apartment in Perth.
Are you talking like the verses when you jump in the arena?
The all on all.
Yeah.
Slayer.
Yes.
Do you still play video
Slayer.
games? Do you still play games?
Nah, not anymore, man. Not anymore,
It's hard to find a time now.
No, it's not hard to find the time. I just can't be bothered. It's too much effort. The time is there, just requires way too much. Yeah. But I've still got an Xbox 360. That's as brand new as I've got.
Xbox 360.
Yeah, I think they've been far surpassed now.
Well, you know. No, no one knows.
No one knows. All right, good talk.
Mate, I got
boys.
my
Good
first
talk.
one for my 32nd birthday. I got a PS4. It was the first thing I had since a Super Nintendo.
Super Nintendo. Now that was a system.
Mate,
so.
give me one of them.
Was the Xbox.
Right.
That's it.
Super NES.
So next question. Next
All
section.
right. When you were little, did your dad ever read you books before bedtime, and did it sound like you were watching the
So
footy?
when you were about 80 kilos at
Yeah.
year 5.
Let him finish the question before you chime in. You missed the zinger.
So
at the end.
basically,
Yep, right.
when he was little, did his dad ever read him bedtime books at him, and did it sound like he was watching the footy?
Well, wouldn't the better question be if I was watching the footy? Did it sound like my dad was reading my bedtime stories?
I'm just reading the
What was
question.
that like? I don't know. I just imagine getting told off by the same voice that's on footy 3 times a week as well. Like, was it weird hearing your dad on TV all the time, or was it just like you said, you know, any different?
I
Really,
didn't know any different, man. So that was just dad's work. So
Yeah.
but no, it didn't sound like the footy to me because I was used to hearing him all the time.
So your dad used to come up with these awesome one-liners.
Right.
Right. He'd said did he work on them during the week? Like, did he practice them on?
Oh, he had
on
some
you?
stuff ready to go. It wasn't on spare of the moment. I mean,
Did he
Because
use
there was
any
some
of them?
A-grade material.
Like a
Yeah.
cork in the ocean, probably one of the names.
Did he use any of them in the general day-to-day committee household?
No, he didn't put that much effort in.
Save it.
all his prep was for the footy, not for the family.
When he's watching footy with you at home,
Right.
is he like practice commentating or no?
Well, I mean, if he's getting ready for the season, he will. But no, not generally just watching the footy.
Because he still calls waffle games and stuff like that. Obviously does the radio, but
Yeah, it does a radio. But I mean, I'm with the waffle for 7. I think that may have finished up now. I'm not too sure. But with that, he was just doing special comments basically.
Yeah.
So he was just coming in and sort of dropping some comments. And
Is
that
he
was
at
it.
the point now where he just wants to stop, or is he?
Yeah, I
Still
think
enjoying
he's had enough. You know,
Yeah.
he's been doing it for long enough now. So, so the radio stuff is probably in its final phases too.
Yeah.
And then that'll be it for him.
right off into the
fair enough.
sunset.
Yeah.
What a career. You'll be so lucky. Next question. So, is there any part of your body that you can't scratch? As I said, we get some weird fucking questions coming in. I think they've seen the photos of you.
Guess who that's from?
Yeah.
I can't guess who that's from.
Yeah.
No. That could be a lot of people.
Let me just say, it's one that, like, Chop doesn't have a wife yet, as a girlfriend,
Right.
but one of our wives and all girlfriends.
Is that like-
Who's do you reckon?
Well, I only technically know yours, which is Loz.
She wouldn't do that.
She wouldn't do.
My wife. I'm married to a child.
there you
She's a
go.
33-year-old child. Literally, the
Thanks,
first thing I
Hank.
said to her, she's
Great question.
Because I showed her a photo. She goes, "Oh, would he be able to scratch his back?" I'm like,
So Ken,
I'll ask her.
That's a very good question, and she got it right. I cannot scratch my back. I can scratch parts of my back, but if I had to scratch the middle of my back, it would not be something that I could do. I also can't really touch my shoulders like that. That's as far as
His
I go.
biceps too big. Des and Troy are a little bit too big.
So that made me laugh the other day because my wife was doing it for some reason. I was mimicking her, and I went like this, and I was like, oh, "That's as far as they go."
I've actually never fucking seen that before. Someone that can't touch their shoulders because his biceps are too fucking
I'm pretty
big.
sure I spread the rumor.
Right.
I don't know if it's a rumor, it could be true. that you and my brother at the time, because you were both training heavily. I
Right.
would have been early high
Oh,
school.
I remember this one. I hope it's true.
Neither of you.
Please
used
tell me it's
to
true.
Carry a bum bag around because you couldn't put your hands in your pockets to get your phone and wallet. It's like you couldn't legitimately. You were so big and staunch that you couldn't put your hands in your pockets.
I think if one of us couldn't put our hands in our pockets because we're so big, I think that's a problem for like my 600-pound life. Not necessarily. That's a health issue we need to sort out, because if we don't have the flexibility to get our hand in our pocket, then we got to go see the doctor and the health specialist to figure out
We've gone too far.
why I've got rigor mortis and I'm still alive.
I reckon I told because people would ask why they got a bum bag.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, they too big, can't put their.
No, that was just like a fashion thing, man. You weren't someone until you had a
I
bum
definitely
bag.
forwarded that on as well.
Exactly. You had a bum bag and then, you know, you could say like you keep food in it. Protein bars, man.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, next question. So we've got people. Obviously, we talk about food a lot here on the show. How many cutlets have you eaten in one sitting?
How many cutlets have I had in one sitting?
Yeah, what's the most amount you sit there and go, fuck, that's a lot of cutlets.
I mean, I can put food away, but again, I would bow to
I think
Adam's brother. And I mean, he's
probably-
calmed down a lot. Again, this was
Calmed down a
this
lot.
was this is we go before. Now we're going before Club Marco to childhood Marco.
He's still a machine.
Right,
He's still a machine.
No, but now he doesn't have it like he used to. The passion's there at times, but it's sort of fake. He's going to be impressed I spoke about this much about him, and so he was the guy. I mean, he could, and that's why I told him, like, because obviously Marco used to be a little bit husky when he was younger, right? He was always a big dude, but he was a little bit husky. And I said, look, dude, when we're about sort of 17, 18, he had never trained or anything like that. And I said, man,
You should get.
if you start lifting weights and keep eating like that, and then was like within 6 months, he like caught up to me. I'd been training for like years, and I'm like, dude, can you slow down a little bit, maybe? Just like, you know what I mean? It was making me feel bad about myself.
So what's
But he could put it away. So I mean, I could eat a lot of food because I have to, not necessarily because I enjoy it. But I mean, cutlet answer. I mean, let's say probably
45.
I mean 6 to 10, maybe. That's it.
I reckon you could go.
How big are we
probably
talking?
talking like-
Are we talking like...
I'm talking like decent size. I mean,
Here we are going, fuck, we got one on him. Yeah, you eat about 10 of those. in one.
what type of cutlet? What type of cows are you killing? Like veals, like the
going-
babies. Right? What is
going
this?
Piazza del Sol
Are you
cutlets.
chicken or veal?
I would go both, but I mean,
4 of each.
yeah, no, chicken's good because it's makes you feel a little bit cleaner at the end of it, you know.
So what's a standard daily regimen for your eating habits?
It depends. So I do a lot of sort of no carb days too. So it's basically feast and famine, man. So if I'm sort of dieting sometimes, you know, during the week, and I'm going sort of low carb-ish, and some days I'll fast completely. So it'll be like sort of when I say fast completely, I'll bring calories right down. So it'll sort of be like 1,000 calories to 1,200 for the day, which is
fasting.
Which is
That's nothing.
That's nothing.
that is nothing, especially if you're not having any carbs. And then obviously when we're going more, it will be sort of on training days and stuff like that, we shoot up to probably about sort of 6,000 cows. So then it's a lot. So it's just sort of,
with the 6,000 cows, do
Yeah.
you try to eat high is it caloric?
yeah.
Foods where, you know, you don't have to eat that much, but it's got high calories, or do you try and
You're not gonna do that because you don't want to take in a lot of fat, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're gonna have windows where you're gonna do fats and proteins, and then windows where you do carbs and proteins. That's basically how it works. So, not for everyone, but if you want to sort of stay in decent shape and get big at the same time. So, if you're eating then carbs and protein, then it's all clean. So it's got to be cleaner food. So lots of like rice and pasta and chicken breast and stuff. That's not the easiest to get down a lot of times. If you got to eat a lot of it, so it's not just all burgers and pizza and KFC because you're going to get fat. You know, I was probably doing.
Yep.
is it expensive?
I was like, shit, that's where I've gone wrong.
Word.
Yeah, it's obviously pretty expensive to maintain this meal intake.
Yeah, I mean it's a full-time effort, mate. You know, so you got to have the genetic disposition for it, obviously, and then have the capacity to follow through. I mean, eating's the hardest part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really.
I mean, lots of people train in the gym.
Yeah.
What are you pretty much eating every 2 hours?
Yeah, but it just becomes that's your life then, right? Your life is calorie intake and getting the right stuff in.
So you're not really eating for enjoyment, just eating for...
No, I mean, I still enjoy food, but yeah, definitely. So, it just it becomes like that. So that's the main difference. I mean, you always tell people that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Because people are like, how do I get big? What training routine do I do? Blah, 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 blah. You do whatever you want. If you're not putting in enough calories, you're not going to get big. And if you don't have the right genes, it's going to be a lot harder to get big anyway. So it's not for everyone anyway.
Yeah, so like someone like Chop, who's always tried to get bigger, but his natural body
Is leaner.
is lean.
Yeah.
You know, him putting on size is
Oh, yeah, I
extremely
mean,
difficult.
no, some people are going to look at weights and put on size.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So nothing is created equal in terms of weight training.
So I look at food and put on size.
Yeah. Oh, that's good too. It just depends on where you're putting on the size, right?
Yeah.
So
In my tits. I'm running a fucking beak up over here.
your pecs, though.
Damon's in an unfortunate position where he's actually right. He goes to, because some people get on their backsides. He's got no ass. So he doesn't even
no
get
ass.
No ass. Like, no fucking ass.
No ass.
No ass.
See,
Too many
epitome.
knee injuries.
Because you got quite sturdy legs, so what's happening to your glutes?
Hey,
They
Damon,
just
show
faded
me.
away.
They just don't fire.
show
Oh, no.
Well, for everyone at home, he's showing me his ass right now.
yeah.
Very good. It's good. Oh, not so hard. Not so hard. Oh. One finger.
All right, we got another question here. So, what was your favourite wrestling match of all time? One that just sort of comes to you every
Wait,
time.
that you were in?
That I was in or that I viewed?
Well, give us both.
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 So favourite all time that I was in was probably one of the ones actually when I came back here was pretty good. Wrestling for the NWA Championship against Nick Aldis, who's still the current champion. And obviously the NWA Championship that was for House of Hardcore when they came to Australia.
Yeah.
Tommy Dreamer, who is a WWE Hall of Famer, one of his promotions. So that was pretty cool, obviously just knowing who had held that title. So pretty much anyone who's been anyone in the wrestling world has held that title, from the Ric Flairs to the Dusty Rhodes, the Von Erichs, all these guys have held that title. So it was a lot of history attached to it. So to be in a match for that, I didn't get the win.
Yeah.
But, that was pretty cool.
That's amazing.
Where was that? Here or?
Yeah, that was here. So it was actually in Perth. So we did that. When House of Hardcore came down in 2018, I believe. So, so that was cool. It was cool just to be, have that title on the line and be in that match.
What was your favourite one of all time to watch?
That's a tricky one, man. There's been a lot.
There's one answer.
So me and Damon.
WrestleMania 17
TLC
table ladder
match.
chairs.
TLC.
Dudley's, Edge and Christian,
Christian.
Hardy Boys.
That was amazing.
And
that
also
match.
The Rock and Stone Cold, that main event as well.
That was one of the best WrestleManias ever. WrestleMania.
Yeah, 17 was a good one, boys.
Yeah, so
That's,
rather-
Shane McMahon and Vince.
that's
Yeah.
not, that's not a bad one.
Rather than going to the specific match, who are your favourite wrestlers?
Just cut the conversation off,
Yeah.
man. We're talking about
it.
We're talking about WrestleMania 17.
Fuck, you can't. Adam was never a big wrestling man, but
He was
fuck, I
too
lived off
busy
that.
memorizing every stat of every sport that there's ever
He's
been.
looking at pie graphs
There's
and bar graphs.
there's no analytics in wrestling. He's not interested in that. He's a numbers man.
Fish, it came in handy later.
Hey? Yeah, no, but I'm saying that's what I mean.
For all of us.
Those came in handy
You didn't
later.
have, well, listen. All I'm saying is you didn't have. All I'm saying
I can't
is
tell you how many times knowing the top goal scorer in the 1997 Serie A.
What the fuck is the point of knowing that?
But he
helped
still
me in life.
Yeah. No, but
Who
you
was
knew
it?
what he had for breakfast
was
too
it?
that day. That was the thing about
Who was it?
You're like Ace Rothstein in Casino. You knew everything about
Yes.
everything.
Yeah.
You know what
The
they
hardwood
say.
floors.
Yeah, the hardwood floors. If the quarterback was having a problem with his girlfriend, you knew it, mate. That's the thing.
And that was back before social media.
That's
So
what
back
I'm
to get
saying.
info. It was
The time
crazy.
you put in, we had a thing about Adam Russo he said his first girlfriend was the Foxtel remote.
Yeah.
He had this patch upstairs. He had his remote laid out and some nice little
I made a
nighty type
couch
thing.
proof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you couldn't go near it. He'd growl like a dog going if he went near the food. He was very protective over the Foxtel remote, and that was his first missus.
If I was watching TV, I had to have the remote.
Yeah, exactly.
I still do, actually.
Exactly, and that's the weird thing. Now you live with your actual wife
Yeah.
and your ex, and Loz is actually okay with that.
Your
So,
mistress.
You know, you've gone Polly and she doesn't even know.
Sometimes she asks like why I'm not listening when the TV's on. So.
Yeah. I'm just staring at the remote. Just looking at you.
So back to before Adam rudely interrupted there.
right. My favorite match of all time. I mean, that 17's a good one. Stone Cold and Rock.
Yeah.
The TLC match. Actually, Bubba Ray was in that show that I just spoke about where my favorite match was in. He was in that match, the House of Hardcore as well.
Yeah.
So I was driving around Bubba Ray and Subi, of all places. He was good. He's a good dude. Anyway, so again, just name dropping.
Yeah, that's
we love it. We love it.
I'm geeking out so hard here.
But yeah, so no, favorite match. Yeah, definitely. There's some Rock Austin ones. Even Rock Austin, I think it was from 20 or 21 when they did a rematch later on.
When Austin flipped and became.
When there was one where Dewey the Rock stole his jacket.
Yeah,
I think it was the same one. Angle and Lesnar main evented, which was another great match.
Yeah.
But then obviously Taker and Shawn Michaels, their first match at Mania, was amazing. So yeah, and just performers wise, obviously Taker, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Brock Lesnar, big one. Scott Steiner was my favourite wrestler.
Really? Scott Steiner?
Really?
Yeah, Scott Steiner was my favourite.
I remember Scott Steiner, but like
He was renowned for
you'd
being
have to be a
just
fan to
just
remember
being
him.
a shit person backstage, Scott Steiner. Rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
He just lived the heel life, man.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Was that wrestling at its peak? That's the late
Attitude
90s,
era.
early
Attitude
2000s.
era.
Attitude era, yeah. I mean, apart from like when I was about probably
Hogan and
four
stuff.
4 to 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So when I was about 15 or so, that was when everyone was into wrestling again.
Yeah.
Because you had such great stars, and you also had the competition. So you had WCW versus WWE.
Yeah.
So you had two big companies.
The Monday Night Wars.
Oh, man,
Exactly.
that was
So
sweet.
I mean, that's what made it so good too. Is that they were pushing each other to have better content.
Yeah.
Where now the WWE just got a monopoly. So I mean, if you own everything, how hard are you going to push?
It's still extremely popular.
It's still massive.
Globally?
Huge. Still
Yeah,
massive.
it's still. I mean,
Probably bigger.
they're a juggernaut, man. I mean, it's not the money machine it was back then, but I mean that set it up for what it is now.
Has UFC taken a bit from them?
I mean, UFC definitely would have took some when it came in, but I mean, it's a different demographic still,
yeah,
you know. It's still, and they're still
compared to
putting on the show. I mean, UFC stole so much of what they do.
Yeah, how they
So
promote it.
Dana took a lot of stuff Vince does and ran with it, right? So
Creating the superstars. That's what Vince used to do.
Well, it's more of an entertainment. Like we'll speak about basketball in a little bit.
yeah, but
America's very sort of entertainment centric. Like it's not just the sport.
yeah.
It's not the rest. It's not the actual match. It's the everything around it that brings out the fans. Like that's how you get more than the core fans. You get the drop in for once a week kind of thing.
Yeah. But I mean that's what it was. When you've got great talent in wrestling, I mean people tune in for the promos as much as they tune in for the wrestling, right?
Yeah.
Because you've got the talent to pull those promos off. Now with the way the company is, they control a lot of that, so it's all scripted. They tell you what you can and can't say. You can't really go off that.
yeah.
Back in the Attitude Era, they used to give the boys a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
And I mean, look at what it created. It created stars like Stone Cold and The Rock.
Yeah.
You know, so if they were in today's era, they might not be as big as stars because they wouldn't get that freedom, so they couldn't get their fan base, which would have cost the business. So, I mean, they got sort of too big for their boots in that sense, in that they wanted to control everything, you know. And I think they're easing up on it a bit now, but I mean, it's not like the old days when we used to be able to sort of, hey, can I say this?
Yeah.
Or like, can I get 5 more minutes on the mic?
Yeah.
You know, they just wouldn't do that these days at all. I mean,
Yeah.
that's their prerogative. They've got a business to run. They can do what they want. But, I mean, that was the thing. So if you can get people in with the story,
You got him there.
then the match is thing. And that's what the UFC did too, is UFC when it first came in, not so much anymore because it's watered it down so much and there's just so many fighters and so many fight nights. Like as soon as they went to Fox,
Yeah.
that's when it changed.
So they had to pump out a certain amount
So
every
they need
year.
the volume of fighters, right? And the
Sign
volume,
more
yeah.
people.
So once you do that, you watered it down.
Yeah.
But before that, you were interested in the first fight to the last fight.
fight.
Every
100%.
every card, right?
100%.
And what's that? That's wrestling.
That's exactly right.
So they built those guys where you were actually invested in those guys that were coming up, right? And that's wrestling, right? So wrestling, you don't go and tune into the main event.
Yeah,
You watch the whole show, right? You
Yeah.
buy the
The in
pay-per-view.
between, the Baxter, everything.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
investing in it all, right?
Yeah.
So they took that and took that model and created stars, even the guys that weren't bona fide stars yet. You wanted to see how these guys.
Well, you can even say someone like a Diego Sanchez never really got anywhere, had a title fight against BJ Penn in the UFC, but they made him a big name through the Tough series.
Yeah,
So
so just
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Reality TV. That's how they made UFC big.
Did
exactly.
you ever get starstruck by anyone over there? Like, did you meet most of the big guys, or did you go around the place, sort of thing?
I mean, I was starstruck. I met The Rock when I was
And we put that photo up.
Oh yeah, seen
yeah
it.
before I ever got in the business. So this was
Dwarfed him as well in that photo.
He was a little bit taller, but he's
Yeah.
bigger.
Way bigger.
Fish was wider.
yeah, well,
But
you know.
he's massive now. He's gone the other way now, where he was a bit leaner when he wrestled, but he's obviously still huge. Now he's just fucking giant.
He's leaner now. He's way leaner now. So I mean, it'd be interesting to see him now to see how big he is because he's probably just more quality. He's probably not that much of a bigger guy. He's just got a lot more quality muscle on him now, which is you get older, and I think he would have tweaked his nutrition and training and have all the right people around him. If you're making bloody $100 million a year, you can do what you want. And so he's probably taken that to the next level now as far as getting all the right stuff because he would have had good genetics anyway if you look at his dad
absolutely.
and stuff. So, I mean, it was all there. And he always had a good physique anyway, a big guy.
Samoan background.
Yeah, Samoan and black. So the two best that are sort of,
physique.
gene bases for that type of thing, right? So
If you cook it in the kitchen, that's what you need.
yeah, that's it. So I mean, so he was always a big guy. So I think he's just probably refined it more.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you saw him now, he may be smaller in size than what he was, but he just looks way better.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
you give him that. All the action moves and stuff he's in now. Different body shape to what he had.
Well,
When he was
also,
for sure.
like when he's wrestling and when he's doing all that, he's up against bigger
Yeah,
guys.
of course.
When he's acting, it's like
Yeah,
he looks
Next to
bigger
Kevin
relative.
Hart.
Yeah.
You're always going to be the biggest guy on the road normally if you're ex-pro wrestler with actors. But he's definitely refined his physique and sort of taken that. He's got a lot better muscle, a lot of quality muscle, as I would say. So that happens with age, and it happens when you know your body and you get the right people around you, obviously, and then you can tweak it.
Yeah.
So he looks more like a bodybuilder now than he used to look. You know
yes,
what I mean?
way different. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was always big and he was always jacked, but now he looks like sort of like.
Well, he
a
always
bodybuilder.
talks about it to, all the little things and the things that you have to do to be a certain role. Like, obviously he's acting now. Like, you have to change a lot of your diet, specific foods, all that stuff.
Supplements.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so he's just changed his look. So he's more just, like I said, more quality stuff. So, like you said, you chop to that normal person, you think, well, he's way bigger than what he used to be. But he's just got way more quality muscle on him now and he's leaner. Do you know what I mean? And it tricks your eye because if you saw him compared to his old self, if they stood next to each other, probably the same size, or the old guy might actually be bigger in stature. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Well, it's just the way it goes. So, I mean, he was the one I was starstruck for anyway. So that was a long story.
Did you ever
about-
meet Vince?
Yeah. The first time I met him, I called him Vince, and I was like, oh, shit.
Did you really?
So the first time I met him, I turned around and because I wasn't expecting him. So we were there for, I think, a tryout on Raw. It was one of my first tryouts. And back then used to go to the shows and used to have like a match in front of all the boys around the ring. So it was like the most petrifying thing in the world, right? So now they do all their tryouts at the performance center. So you just go have like a 3-day tryout. They kill you. So it's harder physically, but nowhere near as much as mental anguish.
Yeah.
So back then you went to the shows. So we did like a little loop with him in Florida. So we went to SmackDown and went to Raw. And so, so when you do the tryouts, you're in the ring before the show. And usually all the boys are just standing around the ring shooting the shit. And they're all watching you wrestle. So you're like, fuck. So anyway, after that, we were at the show and then we were sort of watching and we're doing some stuff backstage. I think we worked security that night for one of the segments or something, like chase John Cena out of the arena or something, right? So when you see the security guys, they're normally always guys getting looks, right?
Right.
So that's normally how it works. So anyway, so I just was in my security shirt or something and I just turned around and he was right behind me. And he said, "Oh, thank you." And I was just like, "Hey, Vince." And then I said, thanks very much. Thanks for the opportunity, right? And then I walked away and I was like, fuck, I called him Vince. So, and then I went to the boys and I was like, I just called Vince, not Mr. McMahon. And they're like, oh, no, he's cool, man. He doesn't mind if you call him Vince. And I'm like, okay, all right, I'll take your word for it. But I was like, okay, shit.
So he owns it. It's his family that owns
Yeah.
it still?
Yeah. Well, it's a public listed company, but he's obviously the main shareholder.
Yeah. So his dad owned it too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
right.
then he took it from his dad. Obviously, it was a territory then. It was more a territory thing back in the day, and obviously wasn't sort of making the money it was then. And he turned it into.
Started buying up all the other little territories and making them into the WWF.
There you go. Chops across it. So he chops across it.
I was a big
bum.
wrestling fan back in the day. Grew up in Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Savage, all that, and then sort of, I guess, stayed with it with the Attitude Era. Stone Cold, definitely my favourite.
There you go.
All the time.
There
It was
you
great
go.
watching him. One more question for you. So, who was the where is it? Here we go. Who was the most well-known person that you wrestled? So, you mentioned you were with Bubba Ray Dudley. Who was the biggest name you wrestled?
Probably like I did some stuff with Drew McIntyre.
No way, Drew
Florida.
McIntyre.
Yeah.
Who 2 years ago, was it last year or 2 years ago that he won the WWE champion?
Yeah, and then a lot of other guys that have been and gone and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Drew obviously then went on because we were working for the same company in Florida called Evolve, and we were doing some stuff on the same shows and that type of stuff. And then and then shortly after I left, he had another big push with the WWE. He'd obviously already been at the WWE.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
When he was really young, but awesome dude and like an amazing worker, man. So it was really good to see him sort of get up and get another crack and do so well.
Yeah, so he won it at WrestleMania.
Yeah. So
I'm pretty sure it was last year, not this year. May have been this year. But I know Roman Reigns is the SmackDown champion right now.
Yep.
I'm not sure who the Raw champion is. Could be actually him right now.
Yeah.
So that's huge.
I've also done matches with Rikishi and stuff like that with the older crowd.
Did you get stink faced by Rikishi?
No, I didn't because I was his tag team partner. So
Ah.
we didn't have to wrestle each other.
Sweet.
But yeah, some cool guys over the way. A guy that used to wrestle for TNA called Bram, who was with NXT as well, who was a really good wrestler as well, still a good mate of mine. So we did a few shows too. And then obviously Nick Aldis with the NWA Championship. So yeah.
That's huge. What do you reckon of the female wrestlers at the moment?
Yeah, man, they're awesome. They've sort of taken it from obviously all the TNA that was around when we were kids, the bra and panty matches and whatnot.
Divas.
So they've taken it from that. They've obviously legitimised themselves, which is good. I mean, I think it follows suit with the rest of the world and the rest of athletics.
Yeah.
So they sort of had to go that way, but it's good they get them a crack. And obviously the girls have performed at such a high level. I was actually... Bram, the guy I spoke about, used to be married to Ashley Flair, so Charlotte.
Oh, no way.
So yeah, we
Ashley Flair, Ric Flair's daughter.
Charlotte, her wrestling name Charlotte Flair.
yeah.
So
we
6-time world champion.
yeah, so we used to know Ash pretty well. We used to look after their dog when she'd go on the road and stuff like that.
Wow.
So no, she was a really down to earth, cool chick, man. No, she was cool. And then obviously her and my friend broke up and stuff like that. But yeah, like she's the epitome of how good it is, you know. And she was always that athlete and so good, you know. She had the chip on her shoulder of something to prove because she was, you know, Ric Flair's daughter.
Yeah.
How hard is it to sort of make your own name when you're Ric Flair's daughter?
Yeah.
But she's done it, man. So all credit too. But she's, like I said, she's the epitome of that. Just the really solid athlete, awesome worker, knows the business inside out. Obviously grew up in it, and just great performer too, man.
Great stuff.
You're a big basketball man, Mark.
Yeah, let's jump into it.
Big basketball man. Look, we're in the midst of the playoffs.
Right.
Obviously, the hot topic is Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons getting buried by everyone.
Now, look, you're a pretty good free throw shooter yourself. What would you say, 80%?
Better than 34%.
Yeah.
I think I might be better than
I think
34%.
fucking anybody.
Can you, like, for him, it almost comes across as like he's doesn't care enough about getting better at that aspect of his.
I mean, I don't know that like free throws are necessarily that, because I feel like it just gets in guys' heads. Like we've
It's
seen
stopping him from driving.
Yeah,
to
but
the
you can
lane.
say the same thing about Antetokounmpo, and you could say the same thing about Shaq and all these guys. That I mean, Giannis should be a better free throw shooter than he is.
I don't necessarily think he needs to be an awesome free throw shooter or anything like that.
Just
It's more
maybe
that
40%.
Yeah, but it's
Well, you've got to be better than Shaq for
you got to be
shit's
better
sake.
than
He was
Shaq, but-
50%.
But I think like you mentioned Giannis.
Yeah,
It doesn't stop Giannis from shooting, from driving, from doing all that stuff.
yeah.
Whereas it is stopped with Ben Simmons. That didn't have a field goal attempt in the last 4 games in the fourth quarter.
Oh yeah, but what I'm saying is Giannis should be like a better free throw shooter than Ben because he can shoot from the outside in the game slightly. You know what I mean? But
That's right.
So Simmons, I mean, he is what he is. I think people just got. I mean, they got super high on him, calling him like, he's a jump shot away from being LeBron James, as Stephen A. always says. But I mean, he's got a long way to go before he's LeBron James.
yeah.
Even when LeBron James wouldn't shoot that much from the outside, I mean, he was, averaging 25 in his rookie year.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's a different breed. So I mean, I think because you look at him and he's got everything athletically, right? He's got the size, he's got it all. Not a super explosive athlete, but a good athlete.
fast, yeah.
And very sort of versatile for his size, but. Yeah, I just think it's a mental game with him, man. I mean, at some point, you can say the guy's not prepared to work, but if you're not taking shots in games,
That's crazy,
then that's mental.
5 points
Do
in
you,
a game
do you
7.
think he's?
It's a yips. You reckon he's just got the yips?
Yeah, but do you think?
Yeah, 100%.
Do you think he's gone from Philly now? Like, do you think that's the end of it?
Well, the way Joel Embiid and Doc Rivers buried him the other day,
Yeah,
you'd
that's
hope
also,
to be gone.
That's
Embiid
also
buried
very,
him.
very
Rivers-
shit.
Yeah.
Doc tried to
Embiid
come
was
out
shit.
today.
Jamal Embiid, sorry, just on that, he had 8 turnovers in Game 6 and 8 in Game 7 from your number one guy. That shithouse.
Yeah,
as
but you
well.
don't call out someone after a loss like that.
That's what I'm saying.
just-
You shouldn't be
you
throwing
don't
rocks when
bury
you're
your
giving away
teammate.
8.
Yeah.
And he had 2 threes
Even
in
if
that
he hadn't
last,
done it, you just don't bury your teammate
Yeah.
like that.
he had
That's
2 threes in that last 2 minutes as well that he put up and was nowhere fucking near it either. So,
I personally think Doc Rivers as a coach is probably, past his best.
Past his prime, yeah. I mean, the thing is, he gets so much sort of players because he's obviously a good leader and things like that. When you hear him talk, he's very impressive. So he's obviously a good leader of men. Don't get me wrong, especially young men. So I think, but when you think about it, he's only won 1 chip, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, they go
And he's
on.
had good teams. Like,
Yeah, but that's what I mean. They go on about him, but how great he is. He won 1 chip.
And that was with a big 3 in Boston when
Yeah.
there weren't any big threes.
Yeah, that was the first
That
big
was
3.
LeBron in his first stint in Cleveland, so he had no one around him. So you had KG, Ray, Paul Pierce, pretty much. Well, KG was a little bit past his prime, and maybe so was Ray, but they went well past their prime.
possible season. Anything is possible.
Yeah, exactly. 2008.
So, like from that, then he's come out today, and he hasn't said it publicly yet, Simmons, but he's forecasting that he's going to pull out of the Olympics.
No, I think he said it now.
Well, he has said it.
Yeah, because
To
I heard
work on his jump shot or whatever.
Well,
again. Again. I mean, but I think I heard Bogut talking about it, right? So I think Ben has said he's not going to be available. So I think they all said they thought it was going to be the case anyway. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I feel like Ben rubs people up the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like we seem to have a bit of an issue with him in Australia, right? A little bit. Like if he's playing really well, we don't. But all I'm saying is other times we do. And now people are getting an issue with him over there. So I feel sorry for him in a sense, right? But at the same time, I think he's living a good life. He was dating Kendall Jenner.
Yeah.
And now he's
probably what it is.
dating Maya Jama or something, that TV host from England. So he's living a good life. I think he's enjoying himself. He's all right.
He's going to
He's
make
working
160
your
mil in the next 4 years anyway.
Yeah.
Because that's what he has to get paid, isn't he?
It's a guaranteed contract for him. So
Yeah. I mean, he's always going to have the talent where he's going to get paid. So all he has to play is
he's going to
decent.
have a 15-year NBA career, even if he's not an all-star. Like he's still
Is he
going
a number 1 draft pick?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, number one.
He's got
Yeah.
that added pressure.
Pretty sure.
from-
So-
So, like, we're in the conference finals now. You know, if you
Sorry,
had to-
who is Mark's team?
he doesn't.
I don't really have a team. I've got
Yeah.
a dude, and that's LeBron James.
Yeah.
He's my guy.
So
right?
Mark has a LeBron sneaker fetish.
Oh, really? Really?
Not a fetish. That sounds like it's
Yes.
something Damo would be into. You know?
I love sneakers,
Yeah. You love fetishes, I hear too. Yeah?
You legitimately have a lot of LeBron James.
I do.
sneakers. How
I
many do you
built
have?
quite a collection when I was in the US.
Do you know how many you have? Do you think?
Nah, I never counted them, bro.
So
100 plus?
Nah, it probably wouldn't be 100. Probably like 70 to 80.
If the new one comes out, do you get it like right away, or do you?
Nah, so I haven't got any of the 18s.
Okay.
I've got the 18 lows on now, so I've got lows, but I didn't buy purchase.
Is that the only sneaker you wear? LeBron's?
Pretty much because I've got so many of them. I wear J's too. I wear Jordans too, but not as much. So
You don't have a team. So you got 4 teams left.
right.
If you had to tip one, who are you going to tip?
Who do
I
you
would
want or
say-
who do you think? So head and heart.
Well, no, I mean form wise, I mean Phoenix playing as good as anyone because Booker's like had this breakout postseason. I mean we knew he was good, but I mean him and
Chris Paul.
yeah, I mean Chris Paul has been good too, but I mean the two,
DeAndre Ayton.
yeah. So I mean,
Bridges.
yeah, but he's just had a breakout season, so and a breakout year. And I mean, who was the other dude I was thinking of when I was thinking the two guys that really stood out this season in the playoffs?
Trae Young.
Yeah, Trey, exactly. He read my mind, so I knew it was there. I couldn't get it. So Trey Young and Devin Booker, I mean, they're two breakout stars, of this postseason. So all of a sudden, Atlanta are in the conference finals.
Do you reckon they can
a fun
do
finals,
Milwaukee?
I mean, they can shoot, so they're a chance anytime, right? And they're not scared, clearly, because they've got so many young dudes and they don't care.
And Milwaukee will always have those games where, Giannis is not hitting anything. He starts settling for threes when he shouldn't. Middleton will go cold. And I personally think the Bucks aren't as well coached as they could be. Like Budenholzer seems to sort of get scared in the playoffs, but he coached them well in the last couple of games of the last series.
Yeah, I mean, the Bucks are weird, man, because, I mean, theoretically, they should win the title.
Yeah.
So if you're looking on
Talent
team
wise,
and balance and everything like that, there should be technically them or the Clippers, you would think, if Kawhi gets back. But on form, Phoenix, and then I think it'll be Phoenix and Bucks.
Yeah.
Right? Depending on what Kawhi's status is. Do you know Kawhi's status?
His day to
Statman?
day, they reckon it's a right knee
It's
sprain.
sprained knee, but it's not.
Sprained,
They're not
surgery,
obviously
no.
not disclosing.
Probably like a strained medial or something like that.
But then on the flip side of that is Chris Paul's come back too. So what's Chris Paul when he's
He's in the protocol, the COVID protocol.
Yeah, I mean, he could easily come back play tomorrow.
right?
So,
I mean, so you bring back Kawhi, you bring back Chris Paul, they bring back Kawhi, I should say, because I'm looking at Adam right now, and
That's
he's
right.
a Phoenix fan.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you do that, then they sort of, so you can say, well, if they get Kawhi back, they should win. Well, if Chris Paul comes back and Phoenix played as well as they did the other day, they're just playing good at the right time, right? So they're hot at the right time, man. So just them Bucks, obviously on paper, should do it, but the Bucks are like as Charles Barkley said, he put it perfectly. They're like the dumbest team, dude. Like you watch them, like those Brooklyn games, and they just take so many bad shots.
Yeah.
Hit the Bucks, yeah.
Well, after game 2, when Brooklyn was up 2-0, I just said, "This is over."
Right, they just drive you insane.
It was just stupid watching them. But
Yeah, but that game, what was it? Game 6.
It was like 80 is the lowest scoring game I've ever seen. It was like 86 to 84, 83.
that was
shit.
game 3.
That was
when they
shocking.
Yeah,
when
they
they
just
pulled it out.
they just don't play within themselves, right? So they just play so much stupid ball. So they've got mismatches, and they
Settle for a
Antetokounmpo
jump
always takes weird shots, like drive it, man. He's got when he had James Harden on him that one time towards the end of the game, and he shoot a turnaround fadeaway. It's like, dude, the guy's he's James Harden anyway, right? You know he's not great at defense. You're about a foot taller than him,
And
and
he's
he's
got
got a
half a
hammy.
leg, yeah.
He's got a hammy problem. Like, hey, why are you shooting a fadeaway? Because you need to get him out of your airspace.
Yeah.
I mean, like they just do dumb shit. Like, so you're just watching him getting frustrated just because it's just like, man, you just stop shooting from the outside, go in. You've got a distinct advantage, right? And when they get the mismatch, they never play to it. Or if they pass to the mismatch, then the mismatch guy who's in the advantageous position takes a bad shot, like Giannis did. You know,
So that's why I feel like they're not well coached, because I think they don't have situational awareness. Like being in that spot, like I'm posting up this guy, he's clearly half my size. I'm going to back him in and get a shot in the paint, like kind of thing.
Yeah, but
like
that's not necessarily on coach either. I mean, your coach is all right, Budenholzer's all right, but at the end of the day, that's on player IQ
gotta
too.
know that too.
Dude, if I know it,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
they don't know it. Like it was like Antetokounmpo, like he plays he gets these like pride shots, right? So he was like feeling it a little bit. So he's done a few inside moves and they're working. So then he pulls up from 3.
Yeah.
So just keep going inside till you get something different.
Yeah.
So
You know what I mean?
KD lit it up. He was, I think genuinely unlucky not to still be in there.
Right.
There has been talk about whether the torch has passed from LeBron to KD. I think this talk's been going on for years, but it feels like now that LeBron got an early exit and KD was obviously back to full fitness.
Right.
If you had to say next year who was going out of those two, who's the best player in the world right now, who would you say?
Well, you know what I'm going to say. So, if you take KD off a fully loaded team, what has he done? Can we have that conversation?
He's never not been on a fully loaded team.
Okay, so what has he done?
Yeah.
The only time he did anything was when he went to the most fully loaded team you could ever go to, a team that won 73 wins. Then he joined them the next season. I mean, is that sort of hedging your bets a little bit? You
Can't beat him, join him.
Yeah, so I mean, like, there's no doubt his skill set is amazing, man. Like he's one of a kind, right? He's a freak.
Yeah. But you're still taking LeBron.
But yeah, show me
Even a 36-year-old LeBron next year.
Well, until someone proves me different.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But all I'm saying is like, he's on KD's on a loaded team again,
Yeah.
right? And they got to the Bucks and they weren't loaded, and he played amazing,
Yeah.
but they lost.
Yeah.
They lost Game 7. He airballed the last shot. Am I correct?
That's right.
He also he tied
He had played 53
he
minutes.
tied the
though.
game with the last shot in regulation.
That was
Fucking
it.
that much, and you won
Right?
the game.
And
one
so,
shoe size,
right?
and you
Exactly.
won the
But
game.
all I'm saying is, so he ties the game, and then how many shots did he miss in OT?
6.
OT was bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so don't give me all this shit about being the closer and this and that
Just
and blah
asking
blah
the
blah.
question.
It's easy. It's easy to be tough if you got like a whole bunch of dudes behind you, right? You would know that from working in clubs. Damo would know that. It's always the toughest guy when he's got all his mates with him,
Yeah.
but he wasn't saying to Pete before they showed up, right?
Yeah.
So it's easy to be.
that's
It's
KD.
easy to play with confidence when you're playing with Steph and Clay and on a well-oiled machine. Because we saw him. Otherwise, we saw him at the Thunder, right?
Well, at the Thunder, he was still
Yeah,
awesome.
but
Yeah,
I'm
but
just
they were all
saying.
young. They were
I'm
20,
saying.
21,
Yeah,
22,
super young
23.
I'm saying he had Westbrook, he had Harden, he had guys on
Yeah.
that team too. They were a good team, and they had the Warriors down. They should have beat the Warriors that year. So I mean, I don't like to rehash history, but I mean it's easy to look good on the Warriors.
Yeah.
How many years do you think LeBron has left?
Oh, I was just like, do you reckon he's going to hang around and try and play with Bronny?
Yeah.
Well, that's if Bronny can make it.
Yeah.
We don't
Well,
know
obviously, he's not going to go to college because LeBron didn't go to college. He's
He
going
has
they're
to.
gonna-
You have to play 1 year.
No, you don't.
G League. You can go straight to the G League, make 300 grand.
No, you don't.
You have to either go 1 year college or
1 year professional because LaMelo did it.
Yeah, but
he
they
came
went-
played here.
Yeah.
You just have to be
it's
1
not
year
the-
out of high
It's
school.
not the NBA, chop.
You have to have 1 year out of high school. You don't have to go to college. You just have to be at least 1 year out of high school.
Yeah, that's
all it
right.
is.
So
Yeah,
that-
so he'll go to the G League, probably get 300 grand to play there because of his name alone, and then just fucking if he's
We'll
good
see.
enough. If he's good enough.
I think he'll go to college, but anyway. So who do you think that he will do a kind of like ignore the Jordan at the Wizards, but like let's say Jordan at the Bulls, do a kind of like a last dance kind of thing, like go out when he's still at his relative peak?
I mean, until he starts slowing down. I mean, there's obviously this year was a bad year as far as injuries goes for the Lakers, so you just don't know. I mean, there's always going to be slippage.
Yeah.
So there could be the possibility that they come out next year and he's not the same player or whatever.
And could he leave the Lakers? You reckon? Just go to a
No.
I don't think he would go
Hollywood's
anywhere.
next year.
yeah, I think he's stuck in
leaving
it.
anyway.
He's LA
I think
now.
he's
agree.
there for good now, man.
Yeah.
I think the only other team we'd go to is maybe Cleveland again, but
Yeah.
it's not gonna
No,
be
Oh,
he
he
that.
won't
won't
go
go there.
This is why he may go to college. Today, the Supreme Court
Yeah, I saw
ruled
that.
in favour of athletes being able to earn money in college.
Name and likeness.
Name and likeness.
It was
In
very
California,
vague,
though.
but it was more
No.
Oh, you're right.
The whole- and
because
they
their
ruled
argument
against
was
the
that
NCAA.
businesses have to pay their employees, so
Yeah.
why don't the colleges should have
Well,
to pay theirs?
they don't. Not that they have to pay them. They can't stop them from earning money off their own
their
name.
image. Yeah.
So that's a big change for college athletes now.
Yeah. But if you're talking about sort of whether they're going to make millions of dollars, that's not going to happen with these kids. It'd just be more about being
LeBron
able to
James,
leverage
Bronny
off
James
the product
could
that they
make
build.
millions before he even gets in the.
I'm sure he makes millions now on fucking TikTok or
His
something.
dad's worth
probably,
his
anyway.
dad's worth a bill.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think Bronny's all right.
Before we finish up tonight,
He gonna be all right.
AFL. Who's your tip for this year?
I think either the Doggies or the Tigs, right?
Because you're a Bombers fan, aren't you?
I'm a Bombers fan. Yeah. It's been a rough 20 years.
Rough 20 years. Cute. Try being a Carlton fan.
Yeah, well, you guys are looking even worse than us. I mean, at least the future kind of looks bright for us. We'll see what we can do to mess that up.
Yeah, these. So we can't see it at home, but these stats that Damon has created show how bad Carlton has been over the course of the last
26 years.
26 years.
26, yeah. You guys, it has been a while. You were good 26 years ago, though.
Yeah. Just remember.
Yeah, I was going to say, they've been testing you, bro.
Yeah, I remember the day, but that's it.
You know, Diesel and Sticks and all the boys. But
so you were saying, the Dogs
and Tigers, I reckon.
Dogs and Tigers in the GF.
No, I just think they're the two best. I don't know how it's all going to finish up. I mean, Tigs need to move because they're in the 8th spot. So, but I mean, you wouldn't want to be playing them early.
Nah.
Or even if you're playing them in the second elimination or something.
You'd be pretty unlucky if you're the 5th side. Let's assume it's a Melbourne-based side. Right. You've got to play
Tigs.
Richmond at the G.
But then
feels wrong.
But even for the after the bye week, right, for the top 4. Yeah. Who's coming down to play them next? Yeah, I mean, that's a brutal game too because you wouldn't be banking on playing them then. Yeah. So, I mean, anything can happen, but they look like in form. Obviously, they're going to move up a bit potentially, but I think Tigers and Doggies are the best. Melbourne sort of they don't feel with confidence still. I feel like they peak too soon. They always peak too soon, Melbourne. And there's nothing there different from last season that you look at them and go, right, they're going to do something different. I mean, they're playing better, but
do you think Geelong's sort of too old?
I don't have any faith in Geelong. It doesn't matter what they do in the regular season. I don't have any faith in
Geelong. I'd love to see them.
Duncan's gone for 12 weeks as well.
Yeah, I mean, Geelong just, I don't know. Their style of play just seems not to hold up the best in the games that count.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Obviously, they get to GFs, but they don't necessarily perform in them all the time.
And what's the local game this week that you're working on?
We got this week. That's a good question.
It's the Eagles Dogs, isn't it?
Yeah, Eagles Dogs. Yeah,
so it's a ripper.
Yeah, it is.
Who's your tip in that one?
I knew that too.
Yeah.
You threw me.
Is your dad a Bombers fan? Like, was he a fan of anyone? Or is he just
probably more Doggies than anyone else.
Doggies.
He played a few Rezzies games for the Doggies.
Which is actually pretty good that he commentated his last grand final with the Dogs in.
Yeah, it was sort of a nice sort of ending.
That's sweet.
You know?
Fuck yeah.
So, But that was cool. So, I mean, so no, we're doing Eagles Doggies. Yeah, that's correct.
And who do you think's going to win?
It'll be a good game.
Yeah. Eagles getting 4 back. Shepherd, Shuey, Gov, and Kelly.
I'm always hesitant when you bring back a lot of guys off extended breaks. But, it's good. I think it'll be a tight game.
Yeah, no, it'll be good. I mean, Eagles play so well at Optus too, so they're just a different beast there. Eagles are still quality, definitely. Obviously, bad run of injuries. See what happens with Willie as well.
Still looks pretty trim. To be honest, I expected him to come back a lot fatter.
Yeah, I thought he'd get the munchies, eating turtle up north.
He's actually pretty trim. Like he was never really the
he was never that
guy.
Streamline. No, he wasn't.
So
I think they're putting a lot of faith in him, but the guy has not played footy for 2.5 years. So
of course, but
I think people need to be realistic.
Yeah,
but
he looks
also
good
at training, but it's training.
Leave him in the forward pocket and let him run amok. Then he doesn't need to run up the ground.
Unfortunately, that's not how footy works.
But I mean, he's a Rioli, so they might not need much practice.
Finals, they love finals.
Exactly. So he's an uncanny player. So a lot of it might be different than normal anyway.
Thanks, Fish. Mark,
the beast.
Outback, Silverback, the beast.
That's it, boys.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
No worries, mate.
You've been listening to Any Give and Take. Follow the boys on Instagram and Twitter at Any Give and Take.
Thanks, boys.